Hey. I was thinking, so I wanted to come on here and share my thoughts. Last week was an amazing week. It was bookended with two amazing events. I started the week in DC and I visited the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Smithsonian Museum, and then I ended with it was a symposium, I guess is what it was called, Why We Are Apart. And it talked about the slave Bible. But let me go back to the museum for a moment, because when I was there, I was overwhelmed with emotion because it just showed my history laid out there, right there in front of me. There were people who it was obvious this was their first time learning the truth about what happened here in America when slaves were brought here. And I was fortunate because I learned from my mom, I learned from PBS, I learned from books about all that had transpired. And it gave me a deeper appreciation. That's a good word, a deeper appreciation for my ancestors, because all they endured, everything that they had to go through just so I could be here today. It makes me want to cry because I don't know how they did it. But I'm grateful because, as I've said to others, it lets me know that I come from people who were resilient, who are strong, who were courageous, and who never gave up, despite or in spite of everything that they were going through. And then when I listened to the symposium online about the slave Bibles, it was something, because it's a lot of information that we just don't have, not right there in front of us. And when I think about the people wanting to ban books, this is why. They don't want us to know. It's no different than what the oppressor tried to do with the slave Bible. They took out things that will give slaves hope, to let them know that they can and do and call on the same God and to have the hope that one day they'll be free. Yeah, it was something. You know, the whole Old Testament was missing out of the slave Bibles. And I remember listening to someone who was a speaker there that was saying how the slave owners did not want to, even though they were, Christians, they did not want to baptize their slaves because they believed if they baptized their slave, wouldn't that make them free? And they didn't want to have to justify why they were still slaves if they were baptized, so they wouldn't baptize them. It was so many things that I learned. I heard there's only 3 slave Bibles that are left. One is in the Smithsonian that I talked about earlier, and the 2 are elsewhere. But one thing that I do know is that slaves learned to read using the Bible. They understood the importance of being educated and being able to decipher information for themselves. The unfortunate thing is they didn't have the whole information. But I want to share something, and this comes from when I was at the museum, because I saw it and I shared it with people before, but I want to share it again. And it says, "Why must we remember? Is this but a council of vengeance and hate? God forbid. We must remember, because if once the world forgets evil, evil is reborn." This comes from the Crisis 1919. Evil is reborn. Evil never went away, right? That is the truth of it. But we do know that people are really trying to take this country backwards to the time when people who looked like me was not considered a person, when we didn't have opportunities, We don't have a level playing field, but the playing field that we have now, they want to take that away. It's something. It's something. But what I do know is that as long as we can read and educate ourselves, regardless as to the books they ban in school, we can still read our history and learn about it. It's all right there at the museum. If you haven't made it there, take a trip. Of course, you need a few days to go through that museum and learn, but it is so powerful, so powerful. And I can't wait to go back because there's so much more that I need to see in that museum too. I only made it to a couple of floors. And then that brings me to this week when Flavor Flav sang the national anthem. Now, I thought it was a joke when I saw people talking about it. I was like, there's no way, right? Because I followed him throughout his entire career when he was part of Public Enemy, which I guess he still is. But when Public Enemy was out, and then when he had Flavor of Love, I watched that show too. That was a guilty pleasure of mine. But I didn't think that he really was going to sing. And when I saw him sing, I felt proud. I was happy. I was happy for him because no, he did not sound great. He sounded like a lot of us would sound if we sang the national anthem. But the fact that he was willing to put himself out there, knowing that the world and these internet streets would see it and not caring, because what he did was fulfill a dream that he had for himself. That takes courage. That same courage that comes from our ancestor, that's the courage he used to get up there and sing in front of those fans at the Milwaukee Bucks Stadium. How many of you have that courage? How many of you have the courage to go after what it is that you desire? So before you sit there and talk about what he sound like, what he looked like, and all of that, just think, would you put yourself out there? Would you be okay with that, knowing the criticisms that's to come? And if not, why? Why wouldn't you? Because why do you care what man thinks? If you have a dream, that dream was given to you for a reason. Go do it. Go do it. Now, I know I was not even thinking about bringing all those three things together and trying to make them work, but actually it does. It really does. And I, again, am proud of Flavor Flav because he was serious. He was serious with it. You can tell that he practiced. He did the best he could. And that's all we can ask for. So take care of yourself. Find that courage in you to go do something where you don't have to worry about what others think, because you know that you're doing your best. All righty? Know that I love you, and I will see you the next time. Bye-bye.